Who's good, Potato? Spin the Leak here, and I need to talk about a fucking terrible movie. A horrible movie. You probably know what it is from the title down below, but before that, we got a few things to talk about. I haven't uploaded anything recently. I've got a large chunk of hours that are about to hit at work. Usually around this time, I end up with 3 back-to-back weeks of very heavy hours, 12 and 14-hour shifts. I'm trying not to get too heavily involved in any of my Let's Plays because I don't need the extra stress. I haven't started an XCOM 2 because money and time are going to be a big concern. And I'm still working on Resident Evil 2 on hard mode. Shit. There's going to be a lot of cutting. I've been dying a lot. I've been getting frustrated. I've been having a lot of fun with it, but it's going to take a little bit of time to work on that. And in the meantime, I've rediscovered Overwatch. I've been having a lot of fun with Overwatch. I'm planning on releasing a small video about that. But rest assured, stuff is coming. I'm gonna knock out a couple of movie reviews because I haven't done them in a while. I might even do an additions. I have a lot of games here that I haven't even touched. I've got this entire stack. This is just what I have on hand, not what is actually in the mess over there, which the mess is pretty much just a straight line. I've got all sorts of RPGs. I want to talk about the Borderlands 2 DLC that hit recently and how excited I am for the third game. Those are some things I want to discuss too. But pressing concerns, limited time, you know how it is. I'm also planning on getting an actual decent mic for this. So yeah, a little bit of extra coin out of pocket, and the fan kicked on at just the right time. Please excuse the mess. I live in filth. Let's talk about the 2016 remake of Cabin Fever. And I'm trying to stifle my anger and avoid spoilers until a certain point. So I'm going to sum the movie up. I'm going to give you my rating of it. And then I'm going to hit you with spoilers and tell you why I fucking detest this movie. First and foremost, Cabin Fever is a movie about a group of 5 friends that go up to a cabin for a little bit of a retreat to do the 4 things that everyone does in horror movies. Fuck, smoke weed, drink, and swear. Continuously. I can't fault them for that. I love doing that shit. Well, I loved it when I was young. I understand I'm still a babe in some respect, but yeah, no, I like that when I was younger, still somewhat mischievous, before I hit my 20s, whatever. So upon arrival, they are accosted by a very sick individual with some sort of flesh-eating disease. One member of the group is actually smart enough to say, fuck that shit, let's not deal with it. The rest kind of just, panic and continue on this path of idiocy that really seeds to it breaking out throughout the entire cabin, and people slowly succumbing to the flesh-eating virus after lighting this motherfucker on fire and sending him running through the woods. Now, I will point out something, a big difference between the first movie and the second, and a point of note that actually grabbed my interest for a little bit in this movie because it is a more modern version. So in the first movie, the infected man got into their vehicle and proceeded to try to steal it. The same thing happens in this one, and I'm shocked that somehow these fuckers still left the keys in the goddamn ignition. If you go out to the woods, you don't leave the keys in the fucking ignition. That is just, point blank. But the same thing happens in the 2 movies. And I'm trying not to compare them too heavily. I do take a lot of issue with this movie, not because of the original. I want to point that out right now. It is not because of the original. The original is campy. It was fun. I enjoyed it. This movie just finds a whole new level of dumbass. It is unmeasurable how stupid these fucking characters are, and I will be addressing that in the spoiler segment. But whenever the sick man attempts to steal their vehicle, they come at him with a baseball bat and a gun. They then douse him with lighter fluid. And here's the difference. In the original, they didn't douse him with lighter fluid. One of them thought it was a brilliant idea to hit him with an aerosol can and a lighter to try to scare him away. But they set him on fire. He goes running through the woods and dies in the reservoir, in the water. In this one, he's doused with lighter fluid, opens his shirt, everyone's in shock, and someone drops a piece of burning wood on the trail of lighter fluid. So yes, the difference is, in the first one, they tried to cover it up as an accident. In the second one, it actually was an accident. So, yeah, the assault on the man wasn't meant to, inflict grievous injury, and in this one, it definitely wasn't. But, they still kind of burned a man alive. The only difference is in this one. If you want to hear a continuation of that, go to the spoiler section. Let me give this an overall rating. 1 potato. 1. No more, probably less. 1. I feel that's generous. If someone shit on my grave, pissed in my eyes, and lit my casket on fire, they'd be lucky if they got a single french fry. I'm giving this thing a potato for shitting in my eyes. And I'm trying to spare you, the hour and a half or hour and 45 minutes that this movie would take up. Here's an example of how much I despise this. This movie was an hour and roughly 40 minutes. It took me 2 hours to watch it. I had to take breaks from the fucking stupidity. So there's my rating. There's just a rough description of the movie. From here on out, it's all spoilers. So stick around if you want to know how these guys fucked up. First and foremost, like I said, originally the sick man died in the reservoir. Instead, in this one, days later, he is found alive in the reservoir, pulling someone in for shock value. This guy isn't fucking Jason Voorhees. This isn't Camp Crystal Lake. He doesn't have fucking gills, especially since the asshole drowns him. Second of all, the first person to get infected, people insist on fucking touching. That was an issue in the first movie. But here, they take it to new heights. They grab her by the arm. They're freaking holding onto the blankets. They're trying to move her into a fucking vehicle. They won't leave the bitch alone. Now, there is something I took issue with in the first movie and this movie, and that is the second person to get infected, which was the guy who had a childhood crush on her and was still trying to get with her during the camping trip. They were engaged in a little bit of foreplay. Bloody fingers, hair, gore, all that fun shit. He is the very last person to show any sign of ailment. Let's talk about the actual arguments they had. It was pretty much, fuck you, I don't want to get infected when they're already infected. Big one. I do have an issue with the cinematography and how they hinted at a few things. How the issue was supposed to be that the infection was in the water. First of all, in the original film, they went ahead and showed you the body, switched over, showed the water traveling up the pipe into a glass, and a little bit of like freaking tissue in it. Just to emphasize, this is how they get sick. They try to make you play some sort of fucking guessing game with this. There's no shock there. It's not some sort of fucking thriller. You guess that it's in the water, especially since it's all lakefront property. Not only that, but the sick man, like a dumbass, instead of immediately jumping into the water to put himself out, runs down the road screaming. They try to make it so much more than it is. They really do. There was one point of interest, to me specifically, since this is a more modernized version. The first person to get sick was constantly posting selfies on social media. She continued to do so after she got sick. I found that very interesting. Whenever you think about it, that sort of thing would happen in this day and age. There'd be sass posts about how they're not feeling well, and panic, and pictures, all that. There'd be entire videos online if someone was going through this, and I can definitely appreciate that little addition of reality. The rest of it, no fucking thank you. The characters were just plain dull. In the first film, it was campy, it was stupid, they were poorly done, but in this one, they had no personality whatsoever. And you see my knee, I'm sitting on the floor now. This is also where I've been sleeping. You know that they have no fucking personality. It's ridiculous. The few characters with personality are either, just side characters, barely of note, or the bad guys. You had the Hog Lady. I fucking love the character. It was executed exactly the same as the first movie because they hit the nail on the head and they said, fuck it, that's perfect. The evil sheriff, I think, Winston. Yeah, no, evil sheriff's name is Winston. This time it is a female role, and I thought that it molded brilliantly, actually. I did actually enjoy a female evil sheriff. But her attitude was off. It came across as I don't know, just fun-loving and playful. The original Winston, he was a bit of a freak. There was something about him that made him, made you feel uneasy. But at the same time, he was still a likable guy, even when he had you bleeding to death in the back of his cop car. The cherry on the fucking cake, though. This goes beyond dumbass. Okay, so these two characters, they've known each other since they were young children. The guy's liked her since roughly 8th grade, so maybe since he was about 13 or 14 years old. These guys are now maybe 19, 20, 21. Actually, no, it would have to be 21 or older since they can now buy alcohol. So there's an assault rifle in camp. There's also a rabid dog. I think his name was Dr. Mondo. Belonged to Grimm, who was the guy with weed. This fucking... The dog kills one of the characters, breaks into the shed, and proceeds to eat the other one alive, the one the guy has a crush on. He goes into the house, grabs an assault rifle, pops in, puts 3 rounds in the dog, and she is still alive, begging him to kill her. At which point, he points the gun, click. Nothing. So, her begging for death, the first thing he does is grab a shovel. My first thought was, okay, she's rotting, decapitation, nice and easy. He takes it to her fucking mouth. Doesn't kill her. So now, her jaw split open, she's writhing in pain, still screaming. And instead of just going for the decapitation, he pours gasoline on her and sets her on fire. Is that how you treat someone you liked for a long time? I understand that there's a flesh-eating disease. To be fair, if my mother was infected with a flesh-eating disease, I wouldn't shit in her direction. I don't care how she died as long as she stayed the hell away from me. Sorry, Mom, but I know you're proud of me for that respect. But still, you want to make it quick if it's someone close to you. The thing that was really fucking stupid, though, he got cornered by rednecks, had the same assault rifle, pointed at him, click. One of them points out that the safety is on. It's not only stupid that one of them points out that the safety is on, but that somehow, in between killing the dog and turning the rifle on her, that he turned on the safety and didn't think to even fucking look. Sometimes you see something stupid in a movie and you laugh at it. Other times, your biggest question is why. And that is what I asked myself for roughly 5 minutes. I paused the movie, I got up, I stepped out the door. Why? 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 I feel like there's so much more for me to talk about what went wrong with this movie. Let me take a second to remember some of it. This is already going on 13 minutes. And I guarantee about 5 minutes of this has been me complaining about things that would otherwise spoil the movie. A real spit in the face had to be the bowling alley story. Without a doubt. If you watch the first film, you remember the bowling alley story. And I prefer it in the first film. Not because it's the first film, but because of the way that they execute it. They had the dialogue spaced out, and they actually had some sort of visual addition. There were some cuts that were well placed, well executed, gave you a sense of what was going on, and it was just plain creepy. The scene overall lasted about 7 to 10 minutes. In this one, it was about 2 or 3, and it was all just dialogue. I'm not a fan of that. Even then, they cut a few things out. Listen, if you're making a movie, and you're doing a reboot of a previous film, take creative liberties. I'm not against that. But they really did leave me wanting. They took an already good story, and instead of improving upon it, they really fucked it. Which is the case with this entire movie. Almost all the dialogue was the same. Pretty much every fucking line other than in the movie. There are exceptions. There are exceptions. There are definitely exceptions. There was a lot of more modern language, a lot of modern references. There was a lot of additional lines for, exchanges between characters. But at the same time, it was like they just grabbed the script, Omit, 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 add, done. Whenever you're doing a reboot, take creative liberties. Add characters, remove characters, whatever the fuck you feel need to do. The importance it really lies in the story and how you execute it. The point of making a movie or anything at all of value is entertainment or inspiration. That's it. That's all it comes down to. Whenever you're involved in art form, it has to be entertaining or gauge some sort of reaction from the audience. This really just left me wanting to rewatch Spartacus. Because if I was going to see blood and gore and viscera all over the place, along with gratuitous sex and just pointless profanity and people barely able to speak English, that's where I'd go. This movie was shit. Like, comment, subscribe, keep on keeping on, and I'll see you in the next one.